I lost my brother. I was 22 at the time,
Mm-hmm.
and I was still in college, undergrad. I was going into my last year, and my brother ended up just being in the streets because, again, we were homeless. So he gravitated towards gangs and
Mm-hmm.
selling drugs, and so the one day there's this guy who they barely knew each other, and he ends up taking my brother's life, like point blank. And my brother, my the guy that's my brother, they took him about I think like 6 months or something. They found out who did it, and through about a year and a half, we went through a whole entire process of going through the trial and everything like that. And so when he right before he gets sentenced, they asked me if I would want to meet him and even have a dialogue or just say a few
Mm-hmm.
words. And of course, everybody was like, no, it may be a little dangerous for you. Like, you don't want him to know who you are. And
Mm-hmm.
and then, and everyone that was for my brother and loved him and whatnot, everyone just said no. But
Yeah.
for me, I felt like it was important because it took me a while though. It did take like about a year for me to even get to the point where it was just like, I want to do it. Because in the beginning, there's so much
Yeah.
anger and hate and pain. But after about a year, again, going back to the fact of the beginning stages of like mindfulness and love and breaking generational curses, I decided to wanted to forgive him. So I
Mm-hmm.
go to the court, and he comes in, and the woman found out that he took someone else's life a week before he took my brother's life. So the
Okay.
wife was there, and she gets up and she speaks, and she's just full of anger and pain.
Yeah.
I get up, and my grandmother was the only one there to support me, and I go there and I literally tell him that I love him and I forgive him. But I also told him that what he had did and took someone someone who I loved and close to me, that it has triggered me to be a more powerful and more influential man in some capacity. So
So I love how you do that because you're not playing the victim card. You're not saying, I'm, you're not beating him and he's not beating you.
for sure.
It's like that's what I really loved about your story is that there was no sides.
Right.
It was just love.
For sure. And that's key. And I think what happens too is a lot of people don't sometimes may not be at the point where they can really understand that aspect of like love and
Mm-hmm.
how forgiveness is rooted in love as well. Because for me, I always was told that, when your life is no longer here in a physical form, it's because your purpose has been fulfilled. And a lot of times we have a view of how someone should live their life or when they should pass on. But
Mm-hmm.
we don't have no control over that. There's a yin and a yang. And so for you to know what's bad, you need to know what's good and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
And so my brother's life became a pillar in my life by understanding what forgiveness is and why I should not have to rely on a situation that will be years
Yeah.
later still hold me down and use it as a way for me not to succeed. And I was not going to allow that to happen to me.
Yeah.
So
And it's I mean, I definitely don't have anything like that that's happened in my life, but we now as I get older, I can just talk about it and we just share it in a
yeah,
minute. But
for sure.
if anybody else is going through something like it, I have to remind myself and that took years,
Yeah,
not decades, but years to get to that point and to do the
for
work.
sure.
And and I deal with that a lot of when I'm hanging around with different communities and um, people really struggle with grief today, especially as people fall away from religion altogether. Like the question of how to deal with grief really comes up a lot. And would you have anything to kind of touch on grief management at all?
Yeah, well, for me, just speaking from experiences, I remember going to therapy
Mm-hmm.
as a way to talk to someone who wasn't a part of the situation
And I
to
was
allow me to just vent.
yeah.
Yep. So I feel like that's one of the things. And like an organization, religion, is a collective of individuals,
Mm-hmm.
and each religion should have, and I'm assuming, will give you the necessary tools or just give you some comfort when you feel like things are going wrong, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's stories that each religion will probably provide that
Yeah.
shows
Yeah.
struggles and people, but the
But
thing
most
is that,
importantly, people to turn to.
right, and I think that that's the key for a collective of individuals, is to
Mm-hmm.
understand that we're going to all go through something, but the thing is that you're a human being and you should not go through it alone.
Mm-hmm.
So having you're at a synagogue, or you at a church, or in a mosque. Like, there are people there who might have been through that situation, or
Mm-hmm.
know someone who actually has come out of it, and
Mm-hmm.
you're only one step or one conversation away from that person.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. So when it comes to grief, I think that is one, you should talk, vent. Like, if you gotta cry, cry. Like, don't hold
Yeah.
it in, because like, you have to go through it. And the
Yeah.
moment that you hold yourself back from it is the moment that you are you don't give yourself the full benefit of experiencing life in its full capacity.
Yeah, I've got a good friend that's kind of been in the same speaking circuit as we have, and he talks about processing the goo. You know, we got goo. You gotta process the goo, and it
That's
won't
right.
process on its own. You gotta work with it to process.
That's right. That's
Um,
right.